If I had one!
What's up, everybody? Blue here at Blue Bears Games, and this week we are doing a Blues Budget Brews. This was a customer request from somebody. They actually requested 2 decks, one for their significant other, one for themselves. This one is the deck that was for their significant other, and next week I'll be doing the other one. Both decks were red, white, and blue commander decks. The first one's Kykar, Wins Fury, and I will surprise you with the next one next week. With that being said, the budgets were supposed to be $50 for each deck. However, while this deck hit the $50 mark, next week's deck did not. It only hit the $40 mark, which is, fine with me and fine by them. So, let's get into what we did here. So, Kykar Wins Fury. I actually am doing this deck myself. This copy of Kykar is actually my own personal one. I do not have an extra one, so I guess I'm going to have to go buy another one for myself to finish out my own build. So, it's a pretty straightforward deck. The problem with Kykar on a budget is that, it can use some of the higher end cards, especially in the blue area, especially since, the free spells are what you're looking for. But I was able to figure it out. I was able to come up with a direction, and I'll go ahead and go over all that with you right now. Kykar is pretty simple. Red, white, blue, and 1 for a 3/3 flyer, bird wizard, and the ability is whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you create a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying, and then you can sacrifice a spirit at any time to add a red. So, we're focusing here on non-creature spells. Obviously, the only creatures in the deck are ones that would forward the deck to make it win. So, we'll put Kykar aside and we'll go over everything. And as I always do, I start with lands. So, let me tell you, or let me show you what I came up with on a budget that we could successfully make Kykar run right. Command Tower, since they're a little cheaper now, I can start adding them to some of the more, I don't put them in monocolor decks. Obviously, that would make no sense. And I don't put them in decks that are my precons just because custom builds are where it's at for me right now. So Command Tower, Mystic Monastery is the tri-land, but the original tri-land that came into play tapped. It's not the ones from Ikoria. Painted Bluff and, of course, Shimmering Grotto are my mana fixers. I know that some people love and some people hate the filter lands, but unfortunately on a budget, you got to do what you got to do. So I got those in there. Unknown Shores as well. The only reason why I like these more than other stuff is because they come into play untapped and they at least have to add colorless mana to your mana pool right off the bat. Port Town, Frostboil Snarl, and Fury Calm Snarl. They are they come into play untapped if you reveal specifically land of their type, so blue and white here for plains and an island, and then you've got mountain and island here for the Frostboil, and then of course mountain and plains for this one. I was trying to get it so that lands don't come into play tapped. Unfortunately, you can't avoid that, so the next set of lands is the Temples, the Triumph, Enlightenment, and Epiphany, and then of course Exotic Orchard, because, a lot of people play blue, you're going to get at least blue out of that. Some people, as secondary colors, use red and white, so you might get all 3. Myriad Landscape, so you can thin out your deck and get the right land you need. It's a 3-color deck, so you got to, do what you can. And then, I think, what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 of each one. So 7 mountains, 7 islands, and 7 plains. And I'll have the deck list in the description, so if you need to verify that, I could be wrong, but I think that's what it was. I didn't count them all live, so I'll have that up there if you want to take a look at everything. So that's the land section. Pretty straightforward. We're in red, white, and blue, so ramp, not the greatest thing in those 3 colors. White has mana fixing, so like a lot of the cards that they had, they go and search for lands. They put them in their hand, not into play, so I had to be as creative as I could be on a budget. So Soul Ring, Armillary Sphere goes and gets 2 basic lands, and then it fixes land. Arcane Signet, of course, and again, my the decks that are custom get some better treatment than the precons, so Arcane Signet goes in there. Lantern of Revealing is a newer card from the Commander Legends Battle for Baldur's Gate. So it's 3 to cast, it taps that mana of any color, so it's an expensive rocket in terms of, instead of 2, it's 3 to cast. But for 4 and tapping it, you can look at the top card of your library, and if it's a land card, not any specific type, it doesn't have to be a basic, you put it on the battlefield tapped, and if you don't, you can just put the card, if you don't put the card on the battlefield, you can put it on the bottom of your library. If you want, depending on what it is, you may want to keep it there. So it's a little bit of mana ramp, not really though. I mean, it's 3 to cast, is it really ramp? But it actually helps put land into play, kind of helping you, thin out your deck a little more. Commander Sphere, because we're in a 3-color deck, and if you don't need to have the ramp, you can at least cast it to draw a card, so not bad. And of course, Burnished Heart, so 3 to cast for a 2/2 elk, and then you can pay 3, sacrifice it, and you don't have to tap it, so you can do it the turn it comes into play. And you can search your library for up to 2 basic land cards and put them on the battlefield tapped, basically mana fixing and ramping at the same time. So those are what I've chosen on a budget for some land ramp, or some mana ramp, if you will. And then we're going to go into the creatures right now, and as far as the creatures go, the section's not very big, as you can see, it's not that thick, but everything that I'm about to show you will help for the deck to give you a win. I am missing 1 card. I did not have it. The person who was getting these decks did have it, so I will superimpose that in as we go. Alright, so Blister Spit Gremlin, 1 to cast 1/1, pay 1, tap it, and it deals 1 damage to each opponent, and whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you untap the Gremlin, so you can continue doing it over and over and over again. Most of the spells in this deck are going to be non-creature. Same thing with Thermo Alchemist. Deals 1 damage to each opponent. It's an 0/3 for 2, and then whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, you can untap it. So you see where that's going. It does damage to each opponent, and all the cards that I have in here are going to do something like that. Kessig Flame Breather, newer card from Val, Crimson Val, sorry. 2 to cast, 1/3, and whenever you cast a non-creature spell, it deals 1 damage to each opponent. See how this is working? It's a lot of life draining. Same thing with Firebrand Archer, 2 to cast 2/1. When you cast a non-creature spell, deals 1 damage to each opponent. Gutter Snipe deals 2 damage to each opponent when you cast an instant or sorcery. See the theme here? Lambholt Recontour. I don't know how to say it. Racontour. I don't know. Same thing. When you cast a non-creature spell, deal damage to each opponent. Good thing is this guy flips and turns into a Gutter Snipe. So whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you deal 2 damage to each opponent. And flipping him is the Nightbound ability. If you need to know more about that, just let me know and I'll tell you about that. Lorehold Apprentice, 2 to cast 2/2. Whenever you cast or copy an instant sorcery spell, until end of turn, spirits you control gain tap this creature to deal 1 damage to each opponent. So, it's a little different. Because you're creating a lot of spirit tokens from Kykar, this can actually be a win con by itself, having this out with Kykar and a whole bunch of the spirits that you've created by casting on creature spells. There is a way to not go infinite, but do it a lot over and over and over again. I have another card in here. It's one of the rares that will actually fit with this card to make it even better. Quintorius, the Field Historian, so it's a 5 to cast, 2/4. Spirits you control get +1/+0, so this is helping you do a go wide buffing of your spirits that are flying, so there'll be 2 1-flyers, and you may be able to go wide and take somebody out with combat damage. And then whenever 1 or more cards leave your graveyard, you create a 3/2 red and white spirit creature token. So adding more ability to make tokens. A lot of the, not a lot, a bunch of cards in here, I'd say about 7 or 8, actually have the ability to make things leave your graveyard, so that ability is relevant in some cases. And then Psychosis Crawler says whenever you draw a card, each opponent loses a life. That's going to be very prominent. This is a win con as well, because almost every spell in here has a way to make you draw a card. So now the card that I'm missing is Glinthorn Buccaneer, and I'll have it up there. So that one actually has whenever you discard a card, it deals a damage to each opponent. So I have it up there for you to take a look at. I didn't have it. The new owner will actually have it because they have a copy of it in there. That's actually another win con too, because almost everything in this deck, as far as the card draw, and that section is pretty big, is going to make you draw and discard. So why don't we just get into that section right now? Not everything, by the way, just a lot. We've got Anticipate, and I'm just going to rifle through some of these so you can just take a look at them. If you have to pause the video, go ahead. See Beyond. I like this because it doesn't technically let you discard a card, but not, you know. Perilous Research, not bad because you have so many tokens that you can just sacrifice 1 for it. Shimmer of Possibility. Deep Analysis, because you can flash it back. That goes along with that whole, if a card leaves your graveyard thing. Deep Analysis is one of them. Faithless Looting, and you're going to see a whole bunch of looting cards now. Again, with Glinthorn Buccaneer, these cards are actually going to be doing damage as well as drawing you cards, which is creating spirit tokens and, you know, all that good stuff. And dealing damage because you draw a card from Psychosis Crawler. Everything here synergizes. So Faithless Looting, Throw a Possibility, Faithless Salvaging, and it has Rebound, so leaving the graveyard. Desperate Ravings, Flashback, leaving the graveyard. Cathartic Reunion, Tormenting Voice, Wild Guess, Electric Revelation, Honor the God Pharaoh, Thrilling Discovery. This is a cool one. So it's 2 to cast. You gain 2 life, and then you may discard 2 cards, and if you do, draw 3. For 2, did I mention that? Faithful Mending, again, another 2 to caster. You gain 2 life, you draw 2 cards, and discard 2 cards, so they're similar. And this one flashes back, so again, something leaving your graveyard. Is It Charm? There's a couple things you can do with this one. So Is It Charm was interesting because it did a lot of things you want to do. It can counter a non-creature spell if they're tapped out or if they don't have 2 open available mana, but it also draws 2 cards and discards 2 cards, so you can choose either one. And then, of course, there's do 2 damage to target creature in case you just for some reason need to get something off the board. Farm to Market, so you can destroy an attacking or blocking creature, and then the other part of it is the Aftermath, so when it's in your graveyard, you can draw 2 cards and then discard 2 cards for 3. This is where the 2 rares I'm about to show you are where I was talking about with the dude that makes your spirits deal damage. So, Jeskai Ascendancy, whenever you cast a non-creature spell, creatures you control get +1/+1 until end of turn, and then you untap those creatures, okay? And then whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you may draw a card, and if you do, discard a card. So this does everything you wanted to do and more. So with the guy that makes it so that your spirit tokens have the ability, or your spirits, because they're just going to be tokens, they can tap to deal damage to each opponent. So you do all that. Say you have 5 out. You do that. You deal 5 damage to each opponent. Then you cast a draw spell, dealing either more damage because you drew cards, or dealing damage because you discarded cards, whatever. But you're also untapping those spirit tokens, giving them +1/+1 as well. So you're making them bigger as they go. But then you can also tap them again to do 5 more damage to each opponent, and then you can keep going. Imagine if you have 10, 20, you know, however many tokens on the battlefield. it starts to add up really quickly. So that's the synergy there. With this and the guy that gives your spirit tokens, or your spirits in general, the ability to tap to do damage to each opponent. And then Whirlwind of Thought, we're ended out with that. So whenever you cast a non-creature spell, draw a card. So now you're really drawing a lot of cards. So that's the card draw section. It's pretty simple, basic, and it should get you through your deck pretty quickly. Defensively, we start off with blue and countermagic. And here's what I've chosen on a budget. Annul. Keep Safe was cool because it helped you draw a card. This is the first time I'm using this in one of my budget builds. It counters a spell that targets a opponent you control, so it kind of helps save your commander a little bit. And then it helps you draw a card. So it's actually not that bad, especially in commander. Second Guess. This one's a pretty cool one too. So with Second Guess, I have a little bit of information for you. So it's your turn and you cast a spell. Somebody wants to counter it. That's where Second Guess comes in. Because if the interactions work the way that I just put out there, you cast something, somebody wants to counter it, you can counter it with Second Guess. That's the beauty of Second Guess. It's actually kind of like a savior of your own stuff. So if you bait somebody with something, or if you can't bait somebody with something, sorry, you can Second Guess whatever they did to destroy it, or whatever they do to counter it. Negate, obviously. Remove Soul for basically Commander, Counter Magic. Essence Scatter, same thing. Arcane Denial because it helps you draw cards. Yes, it helps your opponent draw cards, but you getting to draw cards sometimes can be a hell of a lot worse than them drawing cards. And Nullify, so you can counter a creature or an aura spell. So I'm all about keeping opponents' commanders at bay because most people build a deck around their commander. This deck is one of them. So keep that in mind. So more defense. So that was Counter Magic. This is purely just destruction. So Vandal Blast, obviously everybody likes to play that in red. Shattering Pulse, why? Because it has buyback, so you can continually cast it, getting a token as well. Shenanigans leaves the graveyard, so you have Shenanigans with that. You can cast it repeatedly if you need to. It's just good utility. Fierce Retribution. So it's 2 to cast instant that says destroy target attacking creature, and you can cleave it to make it so that it just destroys target creature. This is more reactionary. You want to pay the 2 to destroy an attacking creature. I actually kind of like that card a lot. Same thing with Swift Response. So destroy target tapped creature. Remember, unless it has vigilance, attacking creatures have to tap. Disenchant, good old Disenchant. Angelic Page, because you have the ability to sacrifice a token if you need to, and then you can destroy, or I'm sorry, exile, target artifact, creature, enchantment. Kill Shot destroys an attacking creature. Excuse me. Paraceline. 30 cast for sorcery, destroys all enchantments, and you gain a life for each enchantment destroyed this way. You have a couple enchantments in here, not really many though. Orm's Thunder, I like being able to use this one. So this one's 30 cast, instant, and it destroys an artifact or enchantment, but then you can pay a kicker of 1 red, and then when you destroy that permanent, it deals a damage equal to its converted, it's been changed to mana value to the target, the way that they word it is different now. So, its kicker is red, destroy target artifact or enchantment. If you paid the kicker cost, Orm's Thunder deals damage equal to that artifact or enchantment's converted mana cost to target creature, so you can eliminate somebody else's creature just by doing that. Sky Whaler's Shot, so destroy target creature with power 3 or greater for 3 at instant speed and you scry 1. A lot of commanders have at least a 3 power, so it's a good way to get rid of them. Devouring Light, 30 cast, you can convoke it and exile target attacking or blocking creature. Nice, cheap removal. And then, of course, Wear and Tear. These are a little more confusing to people who have never seen them before, but these are fuse cards, so you can play either half or both if you pay the entire thing. So for 2, you can destroy an artifact. For 1, you can destroy an enchantment, or for 1, 1, and 1, you can destroy both. So, all good destruction there. Nice utility. Kept all the mana costs as far down as possible. Alright, and then we've got other utility. So some of this is going to be a little different. I like being different, so I have a lot of what I like to call Commander Prison enchants. So Witness Protection, it eliminates their abilities and makes this make them for this card it's a 1/1 legitimate business person. Casmina's Transmutation, same thing, loses all its abilities and becomes a 1/1. I believe it becomes a frog. Is that what it is? No, it just loses abilities, doesn't change its type. This one does, though. Frogify. So it now becomes a 1/1 frog with no abilities. So these are all good prison enchantments for people's commanders. Deep Freeze, 3D cast enchantment. The enchanted creature has a base power and toughness 04, defender, and loses all abilities, and is a blue wall in addition to its other types and colors. Mystical Retrieval. Obviously, I want, it's always nice when you can go ahead and use a sorcery to get a 1/1 to get back another card that you can put another 1/1 out later, and then you can flash it back to do it again and again. It's always nice. Recoup, same thing, and as you can see, both have flashback, so they do help you with the card that says when a card is removed from your graveyard, or changes zones, if you will, and it has flashback, so it's always nice. Throes of Chaos. I've been trying to get a 60-card deck built with this card. This one's pretty cool. So it's 4 to cast, you Cascade, and you can pause the video to read what Cascade does, and if you need an explanation on it, please message me and let me know. And then you can retrace it, so again, you can move it from out of your graveyard, so you get the trigger there, and then you can play it again, and then Cascade again. It's all kind of fun. I like this card a lot. I want to use it in more decks. And then the final card is actually Elixir of Immortality for no other reason other than you're going to be burning through your deck, so you don't want to deck yourself, so you want to be able to get it back into your library, and this does not exile itself, so it can loop. And that's the deck in a nutshell. It's actually a pretty fun deck. I actually really like this deck, so much so that I made my own version of it, but I did that like a year and a half ago, and I still haven't shown you guys that build. But that's for another day. Anyway, that is the build for... That's the first build of 2. I will be back next week to show you the other red, white, and blue build that was requested. But if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or if you just want to shoot the shit, we've got my Facebook page if you want to contact me there. You've got my email address. It's bluebearsgames@gmail.com. Or you can put comments in the section below. I actually wouldn't mind if you did any of that. So that's my time for the week. Thank you for watching. Please do me the favor, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already, and share this out to somebody looking to build Kykar on a budget. Anyway, have a good one, and I will see you next week.